Patreon.com/the Walk-Off Podcast. $4 a month gets you in there.
So, Arden, I'm curious your opinion on Hyun Jin Ryu. According to reports, his rehab process is coming along nicely, and he could be back with the team as early as July. Now, there are people who are counting on him coming back and stepping in like it's 2020. There's people who say he's cooked and his career's done. There's people who think he's going to come back but not until 2024. What are your thoughts on Hyun Jin Ryu, and do you think that the front office is counting on him contributing at all in 2023?
If you're the Blue Jays, you take what you can get at this point with him coming off Tommy John surgery. Everybody recovers differently. I think it can take a bit longer for starters than relievers, certainly, just because of the workload demand on the other end of it. And if you're rejoining a rotation and looking to go 5 innings and throw 80 to 100 pitches, I mean, that's a different level of stress on your arm than if you're a reliever and you're coming in to throw 15 to 20 pitches over an inning, right? So like, it's really going to depend on how he recovers, how the ball's coming out when he actually starts throwing at like a high intensity again. I'm sure he's somewhere in his throwing progression right now where he's doing some work probably on flat ground, I would imagine. I really don't know. Like, I haven't checked in on where his rehab's at right now, but the big step is like when you get on a mound and start, letting loose and seeing where your velocity's at, where your movement's at, and like how does it feel to pronate again, and like how does your elbow respond to the increases in intensity and stress. So it's really just going to depend on how that all goes when he really starts ramping up towards the, I imagine, 11-12 month mark of his rehab.
Even the contribution to the Blue Jays aside, I don't know what it is about Ryu. I'm so curious as to see how the back end of his career plays out. He's 35 now, coming off of Tommy John. Could he wind up with the Rays on a $4 million contract in 2024 and being a top 10 Cy Young pitcher? Like, he's got the acumen within him to do that. He also could just wind up being a guy that, maybe this is it. He goes back to Korea. Who knows? Like, I'm just so curious to see where things play out with him.
Well, never a guy that relied on velocity, right? So
Right. Yeah.
It's not like when he comes back, he needs to be 95, 96, right? I mean, when he was effective with a 90, 91 mile per hour fastball. So if the velo is there, the control and command is there, the action and movement on his pitches are there. I mean, it's asking a lot at his age, coming off Tommy John surgery, right? There's just so much uncertainty. I would be really uncomfortable trying to like forecast anything in any direction with him, right? Like, no outcome would honestly surprise me. It wouldn't surprise me if he came back and is Hyun Jin Ryu again, like the guy that we saw before. Wouldn't surprise me if he's done pitching in MLB. Like, either way, I could believe any of those outcomes because it's just such a long rehab, and we've seen so many different athletes return from it in different ways. So we'll see. It's one of those impossible things to say as we sit here right now in February.
Yeah, no, truly. So let's go the other side and talk Ryu's mentee, if you will. Alek Manoah has taken positive steps forward in every aspect of his career since he's been a pro ball player, basically. And I know I was reading some excerpts of an interview he had with Scotty Mitchell of TSN yesterday. And he was asked his biggest takeaways from the playoff loss, his first playoff game, wildcard game 1. And the maturity in how much he thought about it was really impressive to me, because he kind of mentioned that he had watched the first inning of that game where he gave up the 4 runs more than any piece of television he's ever watched in his entire life. And he talked about just the 2 times he hit J-Rod, and just that he didn't want to, he knows that he's one of the guys that hits the most batters in baseball, and he likes that aggressiveness, and he thinks that can be an advantage, but he also is cognizant that there's a time and a place, and maybe that in a playoff game, a little bit more focus and maybe not shying away from going inside, but just being aware of it is something that he needs to work on. I was really impressed with just the way that he put so much time into analyzing what went on. I know, obviously, projections, and why wouldn't they project a little bit less out of Alek this year. He did so well in 2022. It's kind of a smart move to do, but they're projecting him not pitching quite as well in 2023. I'm curious what your thoughts are on what fans can reasonably expect out of Alek Manoah this season.
Well, there's a fine line there, right, between accountability and wanting to sort of learn from things that have happened to yourself, and then dwelling on the other
Mm-hmm.
side too, right? So
Mm-hmm.
you don't want to be obsessive over failure, but you certainly want to find a way to learn from it. And I do trust that Alek Manoah is someone who is going to get better from that experience in game one of the wild card series there, when really, I mean, it was one bad inning and it was a bad
It
inning,
was, yeah.
right? It wasn't like he, had a meltdown out, like he came back, right? And found a way to give his team some innings and to at least keep that game close. The problem was, like, Luis Castillo was having the night of his life on the other side. So
Yeah.
I mean, Alek Manoah could have given up 2 runs, and I think the Blue Jays are probably losing that game because, like, Luis Castillo was just that good on the night. But yeah, I do trust Alek Manoah will find ways to grow from that and to improve, because he is, like, very driven, and he does care, like, a lot about his career, and he understands how far he has come from rather humble beginnings, and he understands, like, how high his ceiling is as an MLB pitcher. So yeah, he's I think the quote that he gave Shai Davidi in his piece was something like, unless you like go 31-0, you've got stuff to improve on, right?
Yeah.
So that's a good mentality, to be constantly trying to get better. I think that's why he works as hard as he does. So yeah, realistic expectations. I don't know. I'd probably point to, like, whatever the Zips projection is probably, like,
Yeah.
realistic. I don't have it in front of me, but yeah, I mean, I think that we've seen what Alek Manoah is at the big league level right now. We've seen that he's capable of getting up to 200 innings. We've seen that he's capable of an ERA well below 3. He's capable of contending for a Cy Young award. So given health, I think that he's capable of that.